What's the point of a movie? As the lights dim low and the opening credits begin to roll, what compels the moviegoer to be there? Is it a desire for a thought-provoking message, an observable and symbolic moral that prompts introspection, conversations, and perhaps even societal change? If a film fails to achieve or even aim for these goals, does it have any value at all? Do we watch movies to escape the realities of life, or to see them magnified and presented on a screen with a defined narrative and a counterfeit Hollywood sheen? In its opening lines, 1941's Sullivan's Travels wastes no time in providing its own response to these complex existential questions, as it boldly begins with the end.
You see the symbolism of it? Capital and labor destroy each other. It teaches a lesson, a moral lesson. It has social significance.
Who wants to see that kind of stuff? It gives me the creeps.
This Hollywood satire, Sullivan's Travels, tells the story of popular and wealthy movie director John P. Sullivan, who has found great success making light comedies and musical reviews like Ants in Your Plants of 1939 and Hey Hey in the Hayloft. But it's a success that he's come to resent as he finds his work hollow and without substance. He now aims to create something meaningful and authentic for the everyman. It's a characterization he fails to possess himself.
There isn't any work, there isn't any food. These are troublous times.
What do you know about trouble?
What do I know about trouble?
Yes, what do you know about trouble?
What do you mean, what do I know about trouble?
Just what I'm saying. You want to make a picture about garbage cans. What do you know about garbage cans? When did you eat your last meal out of one?
Well, what's that got to do with it?
He's asking you.
It's a shortcoming he recognizes, and so his newfound mission? Head out into the country to live the life of a modern tramp in pursuit of the true troubles facing ordinary people. It's the only way he can make a genuine movie about the sorrows of the times. Naturally, the studio executives firmly feel his efforts are best suited to creating the profitable box office comedies he's been making, and they do their utmost to dissuade him from diverting from that path.
How about making Ants in Your Plants of 1941? You can have Bob Hope, Mary Martin.
Maybe Bing Crosby.
Yeah, but dancers.
Maybe Jack Benny and Rochester.
A big-name band.
What? Oh, no. I want to make Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? But I'll tell you what I'm going to do first. I'm going down to the wardrobe and get some old clothes, some old shoes.
Huh?
And I'm going to start out with 10 cents in my pocket.
What?
I don't know where I'm going, but I'm not coming back till I know what trouble is.
What?
After all, if his adaptation of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou can help the downtrodden truly understand their own hardships, perhaps it might inform and inspire the nation towards a more prosperous future. Sullivan aims to find the America he's never experienced by doing what Hollywood has trained him to do. Fake it.
We better insure him for $1 million.
He's worth more.
The bonehead.
Yes, but what a genius. Get me a copy of that old Brother, Where Art Thou? I guess I'll have to read it now.
One of the more admirable aspects of Sullivan's Travels is its insistence to repeatedly reveal all of its cards. In the opening moments, he's constantly told by a bevy of handlers and staff that his pursuit is a terrible idea, and for the exact reasons why.
How do you like it?
I don't like it at all, sir. Fancy dress, I take it.
What's the matter with it?
I have never been sympathetic to the caricaturing of the poor and needy, sir.
Who's caricaturing?
Barrows doesn't know about the expedition, sir.
I'm going out on the road to find out what it's like to be poor and needy, and then I'm going to make a picture about
If you'll
it.
permit me to say so, sir, the subject is not an interesting one. The poor know all about poverty, and only the morbid rich would find the topic glamorous.
But I'm doing it for the poor, don't you
I
understand?
doubt if they would appreciate it, sir. They rather resent the invasion of their privacy. I believe quite properly, sir.
Sullivan, good-intentioned but naive to the complex truths that await him in the real world, ignores it all and sets out to find that real trouble. The kind that should provide him with all the authentic motivations necessary to make his movie about the struggles of humanity in modern times. Of course, that's only under the condition that a luxurious entourage from the studio tags along behind, so they can document and milk Sullivan's selfless heroics for its publicity value.
This piece is very depressing.
So was the breakfast.
Why doesn't he read a book if he wants to learn something?
Who, the cook? He can learn plenty.
No, Sullivan.
Maybe he don't know how to read.
The cook?
No, This is gonna be a great trip.
The early 1940s found the United States in the midst of one of its tumultuous periods in history. The nation, still grappling with the lingering effects of the Great Depression, had just been thrust into the global conflict of World War II. They were truly challenging times, and Hollywood met this national peril by crafting stories that addressed these varying social trials, as well as the formidable threats of outside forces. These themes became increasingly prevalent in all genres of motion picture storytelling, and whether the ultimate intentions of those filmmakers were sincere or sneaky, it left writer-director Preston Sturges feeling compelled to ponder their ultimate implications. After I saw a couple of pictures put out by my fellow comedy directors, which seemed to have abandoned the fun in favor of the message, I wrote Sullivan's Travels to satisfy an urge to tell them that they were getting a little too deep dish, and to leave the preaching to the preachers.
What's the matter with Capra?
Look.
Sturges, not terribly unlike John P. Sullivan, was born into a life of relative affluence. At age 30, he found near instant success as a playwright for Broadway. And as Hollywood began to embrace a new era of sound and dialogue in film, Preston Sturges, like many playwrights, would find opportunity out west. Penning and contributing to many screenplays of the 1930s, including The Invisible Man, The Power and the Glory, Easy Living, and Remember the Night, he quickly rose the ranks, becoming one of the highest paid people not only in Hollywood, but in the country. Despite this, in his initial years as part of the industry, Sturges found himself a bit disenchanted by the movie-making process as a whole. In Hollywood, writing a movie was typically a collaborative effort, with multiple writers being credited for a single story. Scripts would often undergo continuous transformation as they made their way through the hierarchy of studio heads, producers, and directors, often warping screenplays from their original intentions even more so.
I want this picture to be a commentary on modern conditions, stark realism, the problems that confront the average man.
But with a little sex.
A little, but I don't want to stress it.
Driven to challenge this dynamic, Sturges, after completing a script of a film for Paramount Pictures, famously offered to sell it to the studio for just $10, under the condition that he could direct the film himself, giving him near full control over the depiction of his story. With nothing to lose, Paramount obliged, and in 1940, Preston Sturges wrote and directed The Great McGinty, becoming the first filmmaker to carry both titles on the same picture. In doing so, Sturges not only charted his own creative path, but also established a new kind of precedent in Hollywood production. In the months leading up to Sullivan's travels, Sturges would churn out 2 more films for Paramount, Christmas in July and The Lady Eve.
Crest, a lion couchant, guard and oar, holding between the paws an escutcheon sable, charged with a cock proper. Motto, hyphen, sic erat, infatis. Here, you do it.
While Sturges undoubtedly displayed prowess as a director, it was evident that his true renown was due to his wordcraft. His ability to manipulate language was eloquent, witty, and organized.
How much you say you win last night?
About $600 when I try to lose it back to them.
I don't get it. I lose $40 to their valet, and I figure the guy's a cutie.
Because he took you? Who do you think you are, Houdini?
You don't have to be a whodunit to tell a cold deck when you get your mitts on one. All you have to know is the difference between hot and cold. That guy rung a cold deck in on me.
Balderdash. You're always suspicious of everybody. You remember the clergyman you said was a pickpocket and he turned out to be a bishop?
Well, I still ain't so sure.
Characters spoke rapidly, but every word carried weight, often delivered with both a distinctive rhythm and a comedic deadpan. Sturges could craft stories that, despite their complexity or large casts, never felt overwhelming or overcrowded.
Say, the blue blood coffee. It's bread and the bean. See? As if every bean in our coffee had a pedigree. Baxter's Best, the blue blood coffee.
It's bread and the bean.
It's bread in the bean. Wonderful.
Sturges earned a reputation within the industry for being not only easy to collaborate with, but fun to work alongside as well. After Sullivan's travels, he would make 4 more films for Paramount, all setting different kinds of standards in the comedy and film sphere. He didn't quite invent the ensemble or screwball comedy, but he undoubtedly perfected them, infusing a new sense of intellect and meticulousness that screenwriters would attempt to emulate forever going forward. Notably, Sturges' style and writing have often drawn comparisons to the Coen brothers, and the similarities are plainly evident. From the brilliant and snappy dialogue, the frequent portrayal of screwball situations, Hollywood satire, and familiar visual cues, the Coen brothers never hesitate to showcase their admiration of Preston Sturges in their scripts and stories.
I don't guess this means much to you.
Hell yeah, I could tell you some stories.
And that's the point, that we all have stories. The hopes and dreams of the common man are as noble as those of any king. The stuff of life, why shouldn't it be the stuff of theater?
Arguably, the prime example would be that of their adaptation of the fictional novel and Sullivan's filmmaking aspiration, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? A story that caricatures the struggles of working-class people living through the Depression-era South.
Say, any boys, Smithies?
Sullivan's Travels was able to showcase Sturges' versatility in not only script writing, but in film directing as well. The movie, as if by intention, navigates through multiple filmmaking styles seamlessly. Sturges was a writer, yes, but his skill at directing and framing scenes with thematic purpose was dynamic, confirming his shrewd bet on himself, a smart move, and yet again solidifying his standing as a towering creative force in Hollywood. Additionally, Sturges was fortunate to have exceptional casts of actors in front of the camera, bringing personality, poise, and bite to each line of his witty dialogue. Joel McCrea plays John P. Sullivan. He's naive, but fully genuine and well-meaning.
We made it.
Amateurs.
While Sullivan's endeavor is decidedly self-serving, he does want his art to be a force for good. And while he's misguided and wildly arrogant throughout, McCrae gives him charming sincerity and earnestness, making him surprisingly relatable, even if we don't share his wealthy, privileged background.
How do you feel about the labor situation?
He's quickly joined by Veronica Lake, a smooth-talking, down-on-her-luck character and potential love interest, credited only as the girl, almost as if she's just there to satirically mark off a box on the Hollywood movie checklist.
How does a girl fit in this picture?
There's always a girl in the picture. Haven't you ever been to the movies?
She does have a greater significance than her title suggests, as she provides a contrasting perspective to Sullivan's ignorance. She's tried and failed the Hollywood game, and now she's admitting defeat, ready to head back home and face a new path. In a way, she embodies the viewer. She has a deeper understanding of the world Sullivan wants to realize. And while we can see the error in his journey, knowing he can't honestly find what he's searching for, his nature is likable enough that we still want to go on that discovery with him.
I need these whiskers for my experiment.
Oh, yes, the noble experiment.
You don't have to make any cracks. I don't suffer and starve because I like it, you know.
Neither does anybody else.
The supporting cast included William Demarest, Jimmy Conlon, Franklin Pangborn, and Robert Grieg, among a handful of others who would become unofficially known as the Sturges Stock Company, all of them making regular appearances throughout Sturges' filmography. Here they show themselves capable with the hilarious dialogue Sturges had crafted, delivering mouthfuls with seeming effortlessness, making it no wonder why he would consistently return to the best.
Hello, information. Have you any freight trains going east this afternoon or early this evening? 5:48. Thank you very much indeed, sir. Oh, and could you tell me, does that train carry tramps? And if so, where do they get on? What?
The film follows Sullivan on an odyssey of sorts, where humorously, and much to his annoyance, despite attempts to venture further into the country, he keeps finding himself returned to Hollywood, due to no effort of his own.
Thanks a lot. Hey, what city is this?
That's Hollywood.
Hollywood.
You get a chance to see them own picture stars. Well, so long.
Each of his attempts back towards trouble end up being loosely depicted through different kinds of film genres.
What are you looking at me that way for?
Oh, I did I?
This episode serves as an honest document of the misery going on. Sullivan, as much as he wants to understand it, can only be an observant shadow passing through. He wants to translate this suffering into a meaningful and impactful film, but as Sturges consistently reminds us, maybe this isn't the kind of film that audiences truly need now. We had previously observed Sullivan with the people, seated in a theater watching a movie that may not be too unlike the social commentary film he wants to make, and they seem disinterested, bored. Sullivan's Travel's ultimate suggestion is that there are other ways to resonate with audiences in an effective and worthwhile manner.
Well, did you like Hey Hey in the Hayloft?
Oh, I was crazy about that.
I thought that would just about fit.
You remember the scene where the two were in the hayloft?
Perfectly.
And she made him close his eyes and count 3 before kissing her?
Yes, yes.
And then the pig came out and he kissed the pig instead?
It's on a very high plane.
Then he fell through a hole and sneezed at a horse.
And the horse sneezed back at him.
Oh, that was a wonderful scene. Of course, it was stupid, but it was wonderful. Who directed that picture?
We can't fault Sullivan for wanting to aspire beyond something seemingly more impactful than Hey Hey in the Hayloft. Even within the Hollywood community itself, comedy rarely receives the same level of respect and recognition as other genres. Over the past 95 years, only a handful of true, unabashed comedies have won Best Picture, though many more have been deserving of the accolade. This could explain why many comedic talents will shift towards more celebrated dramatic roles. While dramatic pictures have their place and significance, there should be a greater appreciation for the virtue of humor and making people laugh. Good comedies can offer joy and connection in ways that other genres can't. Up to this point in the film, Veronica Lake had carried herself with a stoic and calm seriousness. But it was this, a memory of a silly, stupid comedy she had seen, that filled her with a giddy delight and brought a moment of levity and light within the reality of her challenging circumstances. Whether it's realized by the masses or not, Hey Hey in the Hayloft is important. The film's last act takes a turn for the thriller through a harrowing sequence that ultimately finds Sullivan in the role he's been searching for. in genuine trouble with no Hollywood lifelines. Mistaken identity has put Sullivan in the very real shackles of a chain gang.
I gotta get out of here.
Take it easy, boy.
Listen, I'm John L. Sullivan, a Hollywood director. Somebody slugged me. I gotta get out of here.
Hollywood what?
But it is also here in these dire and helpless circumstances where Sullivan is granted an epiphany. Within the walls of a church, a safe place where one should always find peace and welcome, a preacher suggests the unique togetherness that a picture show can offer.
Get it down easy, Charlie. Charlie's a little anxious. Well, brothers and sisters, once again we're going to have a little entertainment. I guess I don't have to tell you what it is. The sheet kind of gives it away. And once again, brothers and sisters, we're going to share our pleasure with some neighbors less fortunate than ourselves. Won't you please clear the first 3 pews so they may have seats? Will those nearest the lights kindly rise and dim them, please?
We're all equal in the sight of God, intones the preacher. And perhaps similarly, we're all equal in the light of a movie screen. It is here, when all hope seems lost and the burdens of the situation feel heaviest, a lighthearted comedy cartoon is played. And Sullivan, reluctantly and unbelievably to himself, joins in with the laughter. The humor that he'd been consistently trying to distance himself from throughout the film had caught up to him. In reality, it was in this church, in the light of a silly comedy, that he was finally and truly connected to the audience he yearns to create for.
Hey, am I laughing?
Got a great quote from Victor Borga, which works at the end of this movie, maybe not now. But he said that laughter is the shortest distance between 2 people. And if the responsibility of the artist is to make connections and to communicate, then, I don't know, it's as legitimate as anything else. And that's his audience.
His mistake is underestimating the significance of comedy, and in pursuit of greater meaning, Sullivan finds value and comfort in this diverting, unsophisticated fare. Despite this newfound understanding, Sullivan still can't quite grasp the separation of the classes and divisions within society that exist outside the confines of a theater.
Look, they don't sentence picture directors to a place like this for a little disagreement with a yard bull.
Don't they?
No.
Oh.
The wealth that had insulated him from the common man ultimately rescues him from his own comeuppance. His privilege helps him out of a jam, and he gets his cliched Hollywood ending. The film walks a self-aware line. Preston Sturges, as a writer-director, is knowingly engaging in the same task he's making fun of his protagonist for. Sure, there is a place for serious and thought-provoking films that challenge convention and ponder into the complexities of the human experience. But Sturges stresses the equal, if not greater, value of comedy and light-hearted, goofy films.
I want to tell you that, oh, brother, where art thou is going to be the greatest tragedy ever made. Well, the world will weep. Humanity will sob.
It'll put Shakespeare back with the shipping nose.
Quiet! Your personal courage, your sacrifice, the lengths to which you went to sample the bitter dregs of vicissitude will make old brother where art thou positively
I'm
beyond
sorry
dispute.
to disappoint you.
You're sorry to disappoint me?
Yes, and I say it with some embarrassment, but I don't want to make, oh, brother, where art thou?
You don't want to make oh, brother, where art thou?
No, and I say it with some embarrassment. I want to make a comedy.
You say it with some embarrassment? He doesn't want to make a brother where art thou, he wants to make a comedy.
Remarkably, Sullivan's Travels appears to encompass both ends of the spectrum. It's a message movie whose message is that comedies and jokes are just as important and meaningful as any message in a message movie. Sometimes the audience just needs a little levity to make the heavy burdens of living a little lighter. Comedy can be a unifying force that fosters connection and community. Laughter transcends social and economic barriers. The woes of the world are real, and the movies and comedies in particular are a haven.
I'll never get rich.
Oh, gee.
You're a little richer than you were. Hundreds of miles from everything, cut off from the world, I taste of human kindness. I'll never forget it as long as I live. What town is this?
Las Vegas, Nevada.
Despite getting in his own way at every opportunity, Sullivan's Travels is a delightful and hilarious journey of a well-meaning artist finding out this simple yet profound revelation. It's good to laugh.
But Sully!
And I'll tell you something else. There's a lot to be said for making people laugh. Did you know that's all some people have? It isn't much, but it's better than nothing in this cockeyed caravan.
This is Levity Light Classics.
Boy.